Welcome to the Giants Nation show. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, here with I keep doing the welcome too loud. All right, restart. I just don't like coming in softly. I want to come in loud. Um, all right, I keep on saying we're gonna start. So I gotta share the clip with you guys. Um, when we and Justin first started doing the show together, he's like, "Hey, when you come in the show, just come in a little quieter. You come in really loud, and we got to edit the audio and stuff." So I just start the show. I go, "Welcome to Kitchen." It was one of my favorite intros of all time. All right, here we go. Welcome to the. I'm coming in loud because it's not natural. We should just leave all this in the damn show. Yeah, you know what? We are leaving. All of this is staying in the show. Welcome to the Giants Nation show, presented by you, the people. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, here with my co-host, the Football Grump. That's a hell of a cold opening right there. I'm having fun. We were talking with the Patreon chat. I don't know if it's because I had a coffee 2 hours ago or I'm just like excited about like the draft and everything that's happening, but I'm just like giddy. How we doing, Grump?
I think that you're giddy. I think this is a group of guys that you want to talk about. Like, I think this is really your bread and butter. I
Yeah,
think that's what it is.
it's an O-line draft preview, Grump, and it's also an O-line draft preview that like I kind of like all the guys we're talking about outside of two, and one is like the lowest ranked, and the other guy um is is projected to go in the first round, so it's just like, all right, let that be someone else's issue. And then there's one guy that's probably not realistic for the Giants, but what I'm excited for is we're going to talk about Armand Membou, right? He's not really realistic for the Giants unless they had a trade down, and he would be a number one target for me if they did trade down. But I look at the clump of Josh Conerly, Gray Zabel, Donovan Jackson, and Josh Simmons, Grump, and I say one of them, just one of those guys fall to 34, and I just don't see how there's going to be someone else on the board I want more than those guys, right? Like, I do my grades are kind of simplistic where it's like top, A plus player, someone I would want in like top half of the first round, and then someone I'm okay taking within the end of the first. All four of those guys, for me, fall into that. Like I would want them in the bottom half of the first round, and I just feel like one of them has to fall to pick 34.
I mean, they don't have to, but I think it's really likely. And it's one of those things where I am a firm believer in using the draft to get good players and not to fill holes. At the same time, more than I want them to get a quarterback, I want them to leave this draft with a tackle. And he doesn't have to play right away. Jermaine Illuminator can take right tackle, left tackle be Andrew Thomas. I'd be perfectly happy with that. But I don't know what the plan is next year. Jermaine Illuminator is not here. Andrew Thomas is never healthy for a full season. They need to walk. Like, I can't sit through another season where Andrew Thomas twists his ankle and the whole season's over. I can't do that anymore.
Yeah, and again, I do think they set themselves up better last year because Illuminor can move to left tackle, and it took them a little while to make that decision, but they did. But I love Illuminor. I mean, you saw his tweets about free agency this year. He's looking to cash in. I don't think we're getting him on some cheap contract. He's hitting free agency, and have a plan there. And also, like, you can have a guy that works at guard, right? There's guys that I think have guard tackle flex that I really like. I kind of like the guards more so than the tackles, unless we're talking Josh Simmons or Josh Conerly. But out of that group of four, I think those are the two that are least likely to fall to the Giants. Um, but yeah, I'm a best player available guy, blah blah blah. I just have I If one of those guys falls to pick 34, I don't know who else is going to be there that's going to say, that's the better player that we need to take, right? Because I mean, I was really impressed with all these guys. Grump, let's get into it. I forgot to write down the Patreons for announce on this show, so I got to do it for a Friday show when we talk about the Edge class. Patreon.com/Giants Nation. Hey, maybe let's make that list long when I announce it on Friday. Patreon.com/Giants Nation. All right, Grump. Let's start with Armand Membou out of Mizzou, who 6'4", 332 pounds. Grump, is he O-line one for you in this class? We're not talking Will Campbell, Kelvin Banks in this. Like, is he O-line one in this class for you?
I would say he's actually, if we're including Kelvin Banks and Will Campbell, he's a line two. I have him above Kelvin Banks personally. Um, in that
My
he's
question was Will Campbell or Membou for you,
oh,
basically.
I, I'll go Membou only because the only thing I have against Will Campbell is his stance, and I don't really have anything against Membou. And I don't really know how important that stance is. Maybe you can shed some light. It's just it's annoying.
Yeah, it is. And I think he even tweaked it a little bit in this past year. But here's like where I make the difference is I think Will Campbell's better in the run game.
Mhm.
But, I watched Membou just shut down some of the same opponents that gave Will Campbell issues, right? Like Kyle Kennard, Shamar Stewart, I thought Campbell did really well against. It's just, to me, he shut down everyone in his path. Stourton, Shamar Stewart and Kennard, Landon Jackson. Like, he's not the best run blocker in the world, but just he is a dominant pass protector, and I think he's going to get better as a run blocker. Like, his combine testing is that of an all-pro tackle in the NFL, right? It's similar to, Tristan Wirfs when he came out of Iowa. It's just real deal. And again, like, his film he just dominates. It was sad that he didn't participate in the Senior Bowl because he was sick, because I think he would have been the best player down there, right? We came away really impressed with Josh Conerly outside of one rep against Mike Green. But I think Membou is just a beast. I don't think he struggles with the inside moves the way a guy like Will Campbell is. And so, again, I know he's probably not the Giants pick at 3, and I don't think the Giants are trading down. So I don't want to spend too much time on him. But I will say this, if there's any Jets fans that listen, because there actually is some Jets fans that listen, I found out throughout this whole changing of the podcast process, they are debating him or Tyler Warren right now. I think they'd be crazy to not take Armand. I know Tyler Warren's a good player, but they should try and lock in right tackle for the next 10 years with Armand.
I don't even think it's a debate. I think the fact that they're even considering that is silly. The notes I have on him are gushing. And the last time I remember feeling this comfortable with a tackle, was like Andrew Tonitz, where I was dead. I was like, this is the tackle that I want. And then you look at him, he's only 21. So we've had like 4 or 5 years now of like, because of COVID and X, Y, and Z, we've seen a lot of draftees come out like above 23 years old. And this is really the first draft in a while where the majority of guys we're seeing are around the normal, like 21, 22 years old. So on top of all of that, he's still only 21, where we're still, I don't know about you, but I'm stuck in that mindset of like a young guy is like 24, 25. That's like nearing the end of a rookie contract. And then, 31 reps on the bench press is insane to me. The strength is all there, and it all comes with really, really consistent form. Everything about him is consistent. He doesn't really get fooled by like anything. I think the only thing is sometimes I think he can give up some ground against the bull rush, and it usually happens with like an inside move, kinda, or like a faked inside move where he just kind of gets a little bit, but he still recovers. So I think he's lock solid as a tackle.
Yeah, again, he's not the best with power in the world, but he recovers in pass protection. And I'm not a Shamar Stewart fan at all. We'll talk about him on the Edge preview, not because I think he's an option for the Giants, but I want to get my takes off on him before we get on this class. But Shamar got him a few times in the run game, like with some really good reps. And where I'm different on Shamar Stewart compared to other guys who fit like that, oh, yeah, he just needs a little refinement. And it's like, yeah, but his pass rushing stinks. Like, he can't do anything with him. At least Shamar is really good in the run game. Like, Shamar Stewart's a legitimate player in the run game. Where in pass rusher, this idea that he's going to become a good pass rusher in the NFL, and it's just the way Texas A&M used him, I think is bullshit. But like he did get his ass good, and I did a breakdown on this channel of those two guys on their matchup. I think it's actually the first breakdown on this channel of what was formerly known as Bobby's Breakdowns. Damn it, I did it again. Grump, you got anything else on Armand before we move to the next guy on this?
He's too good for the Giants. The Giants don't deserve him.
Yeah. You know what? I think they do. Dude, oh man, Thomas and him as co-first round pick, co-tackles, I would love. Let's talk about Josh Conerly next. 6'5", 311-pound tackle out of Oregon, who's projected to go late first. I really like Conerly. He was someone I liked going into the Senior Bowl, liked coming out of it, and then did the full write up on him. It's just I fall in love with foot speed and footwork um out of my tackles, and that's exactly what Conerly has, right? He has, I think, the quickest feet in this class, and I think he knows how to use it, right? There's not just these guys who fast feet and they don't know what they're doing. Like he does a great job. He mirrors well. Um, and you just look at his hand usage, and it's just he knows what he's doing. He's been coached up. It reminds you of watching Andrew Thomas in pass protection, the way he will bait pass rushers into getting to their move without taking his hands away from them. Um, and in the run game, he's so quick out of the stance to just get on a defensive lineman and pin them out. If you want to work an outside zone scheme, he's just an asset in that. And you look at it like a matchup with Abdul Carter, another breakdown on this channel. And Abdul Carter definitely got him. I think they only had like 11 or so matchups, and Abdul Carter got a few wins. But like you could tell he was able to hold his own against a rusher like Abdul Carter. The issue, Grump, is that we talked about Mbow struggling with strength a little bit. Conerly really, really struggles with that, and that's what stops him from being a top 15 pick, because it's a legitimate issue where guys are just able to like go through him, and he does a decent job powering down or anchoring down once he's given up ground, but he does give up consistent ground, and it's an issue for him.
Yeah, I would say one of the things that's really good about him is he's really athletic out on the move. Really, really good feet, good footwork. And I don't know if this is like a trade-off. Like, I don't know if he has to lose that to gain this, but in the bull rush, especially, like, you just look at his frame and it feels like I want him to add weight below the waist. You know what I mean? Like he looks a little top heavy, not like a balance issue, just like he needs to even out his strength. Like a lot of your strength is going to come from your lower half in your leverage and stuff like that. And I think that might be where he loses on that sort of stuff. I'm not really sure, but I mean, to me, that looks like the one thing where he can really probably do something easy to make like a big improvement. You know what I mean? As much as, adding muscle is easy. But I mean, I think it shows up in other areas too. Like even in the run game, I think that like his leg drive is just average. You know what I mean? Just not a whole lot of churned feet. And again, like tackles, I'm sure are focusing on the run game portion of their game a lot less than, dropping into pass sets and stuff like that. I played at Oregon, so I'm sure that was a the priority 8. You know what I mean, on his list of things, but
He gets on rushers and quickly. Like you said, the strength is an issue for him. But like if he gets his hands on guys, like he has the proper technique, right? So if you get a rusher who is maybe more focused on the pass and that play, well, and is working upfield a bit, he's gonna get to that inside shoulder and then pin you out, right? He does that well, and he gets on you quick enough to where you're not able to react to it. Um, and it's just you move them, you put them in space, pin and pull, that outside zone, right? He's got flexible hips. It's just and he's got good pad level and knee bend. It's really simple with Conerly, right? It's just awesome footwork, awesome speed. He struggles with strength. It's as simple as that, right? When he gets a bull rush, he's got good feet to duck, walk back, and absorb, but he just gives up ground consistently. And the run game, when he's trying to strain, he doesn't win that battle a lot of the times. And when he's facing NFL pass rushers, it's not just going to be he gives up ground. He's going to give up ground, and while he's trying to anchor down, they're going to knock his hands down and work their pass rush moves off of it. And that's why he will struggle early in the NFL. Like it's maybe not. He'll have some really good games because of that foot speed, but it's just how does he adapt to that, and does he not lose the things that make him good by trying to adjust for that strength, right? It's like if we get to it where he's losing with strength, where now all of a sudden he's over punching, right? He's lunging, he's getting over aggressive with his pass sets. It's just getting stronger without losing your technique and not trying to overcompensate. That's the question with Conerly. Because it reminds me of Charles Cross. Quite a bit. Now Cross, I think, was a little bigger than him. and I think Conerly has a little more urgency in the run game than Charles Cross. And obviously, I didn't want Charles Cross in the top 10 in that draft. And if I was doing a redraft, I don't think I would take Charles Cross still, or obviously better than Evan Neal and Akem Ekwonu. But I still view Charles Cross, if we did a redraft, as like, yeah, he's a above average tackle, but not a great tackle. And I think Conerly can get to be a great tackle eventually, but that strength is an issue, and that's why he's projected to go late 20s, early 30s right now.
So you view him as a left tackle in the NFL then?
Yes. If he's drafted by the Giants, no. But
Okay.
if he's drafted by the Kansas City Chiefs, absolutely.
That makes sense. Yeah, I can get behind that.
And there'll be issues early on, like there will be, right? You put him up against Aiden Hutchinson, he's going to give up 9 pressures in that game. But you put him up against, above average pass rushers, and he'll just eliminate them, I think.
Was he the most impressive player at the Senior Bowl?
Me and you said so. Now we'll look back at it, and the one play we'll remember from Senior Bowl week is Mike Green out of Tulane just putting him on his ass.
Marshall.
And he was working at right tackle, which obviously he plays left, and it's hard to say that, right? Because we're at the Senior Bowl, we're watching every play. 99% of people aren't, and they're seeing the big highlight plays. And he was on the wrong side of the biggest highlight play that was there. But I was extremely impressed with him there. He was, I was really, I think I said on our Senior Bowl recap that he was my best. We did our top 50 segment on that, and I was like, this is best player from the top 50 segment here.
Yeah, I just couldn't remember what we said. I knew he was definitely in the conversation though.
So. Anything else on Conerly?
No, I don't think so. Other than I told you to watch him. That was me.
You did. Mock draft simulators are like 50-50 on having him there at 34. And again, it's just if he's there, I just again don't see anybody else that I want more than him.
I could see it happening though. I mean, there's such a logjam at interior defensive line and tackle. You know what I mean? I could see him slipping, even though he shouldn't.
Because I think this conversation is relevant with the next guys we'll talk about. Let's go just off consensus big board, and the guys we're going to talk about. Josh Simmons is 22, but coming off an injury. Gray Zabel is 26. Josh Conerly is 34.
Just saying.
Donovan Jackson is 38. Right? So just one of those. Now, I do think Conerly is going to go ahead. I think it's better bet of Gray Zabel getting to 34 compared to Conerly. Just because you look at, the teams with, hold on, let me pull this up. The teams, the Chiefs really need a tackle, right? And if Josh Simmons isn't there, I think Conerly is your next best bet. The Bills aren't going to go there. The Commanders definitely could. Lions won't. Ravens, probably not. I think they really like the guy that Rosengarten. So yeah, we'll see. Let's talk about the next guy. Hold on as I pull this up. I'll ask you, who do you want to talk about next? Gray Zabel or Donovan Jackson?
Well, I want to talk about Gray Zabel because both of them, because they both fall into the same bucket of where the hell are they going to play?
Okay. Donovan Jackson, I think, is very simple. I think he plays guard.
Okay.
Gray Zabel, 6'6", 315-pound offensive tackle out of North Dakota State. Speaking of North Dakota State, guess who? There's a tweet out there that this is breaking news of a player that the Giants are monitoring about in the trade market. Can you guess?
Carson Wentz.
Dallas Goedert.
Oh. I mean, I didn't really think it was Carson Wentz.
I know, but could you imagine?
For the clicks. I mean,
imagine. I would have to interview him. Yeah, so it's kind of been. Remember, I just remember when I punched you.
It would just the thumbnail for the video would just be you having him in a headlock in front of what was it, a Little Caesars?
No, it was at a bar in South Dakota.
Bar.
So yeah, that'll be the thumbnail. Giants trade for guy that I sucker punched in a South Dakota bar. and it'll be the thumbnail will be like an outline of me going like this. There's a funny from our like training camp vlog a couple years ago. Me and Julian were like live betting baseball bets at the Yankees game, and Aaron Judge hit a home run, and so we were celebrating way too much. It was the year he broke the record, so I got to say I saw one of them, and the because Julian's holding the camera, and there's a shot of me like this, like fist pumping, like I'm just like I gotta share that. I should have shared that for the I'm gonna do that on the Talking Giant or the Giants Nation show. I am really screwing up right now.
It's all right, man. Get them all out of the way.
I know. We got to clean this shit up for the draft. Gray Zabel, 6'6", 315-pound offensive lineman from NDSU. Gonna move inside the next level, but the question is guard or center. Grump, the player that I got reminded the most out of watching Zabel was watching the Duke player last year, Graham Barton. I thought it was extremely similar. I think Zabel's a little more nasty in the run game. Now, he can also sacrifice some technique doing that nasty. But again, it was just like watching him all over again. Not a ton of film available for an ND or against top competition, but against Colorado, I thought he was just dominant against them. Now, Colorado's D-line is not an NFL D-line still, but I thought it was dominant. And then we got to see him at the Senior Bowl, and the Senior Bowl is where it matters the most for guys like Gray Zabel. And if it wasn't Josh Conerly who had the best week down there, it was either Mike Green or Gray Zabel, right? It was Gray Zabel was the big winner for a lot of people in their Senior Bowl recaps, and he was awesome down there. We talked about him a lot, and kind of eliminated some of the questions of the competition he played against. And pass protection is just consistent footwork with patience. And in the run game, he is just looking to kick someone's ass without being totally out of control. Like when he has a drive pin out block, he comes in with control. When he knows that, hey, I got a down block or a double team the linebacker, I can sacrifice a little bit of technique. I can lean a little bit because I got this guard next to me that's going to be, taking care of half of this person. And he just has down blocks from hell because of one, the nastiness, but just his ability just to roll his hips through a blocker is beautiful. And again, Grump, a guy who, one of these guys got to get there. Zabel, I don't know if you put him at center or guard in the NFL. I think a lot of people are saying center. Regardless, I want him on the Giants.
Well, with the Giants, I don't think it makes a difference if he plays center or guard. I would say that, we're sort of entering soon what's going on with John Michael Schmidt's territory. It's not this upcoming year, but it'll be next year if there are still question marks at the end of this year. But I mean, Greg Van Roten is only signed through this year. John Runyon, is he signed through 2026? Maybe, I think.
Yeah, but they could cut him after this year.
Right. There's cap savings there. It is interesting because, first of all, I love North Dakota State just as a fun football program to watch offensively. They do a lot of really creative stuff with the run game. So I legitimately just watch NDSU games just for fun. I guess that makes me a fan. I don't know. I'm never going to buy a shirt. Doesn't matter. But he is not embarrassing at left tackle. You know what I mean? So it becomes one of those things. Like, is he a tackle? Probably not. But if push came to shove, are you going to elevate some guy off your practice squad in the event of injury? Or are you just going to be like, you know what, this week until X, Y, and Z is ready to go, Zabel's going to be our emergency tackle plan if need be, and we'll just move someone in at guard. Like, I don't think he would embarrass himself at tackle at the NFL level in spots. You know what I mean? So, and on top of it, at 6'6", I honestly think that in a couple of 2 years, he can add about 15 pounds of muscle to that frame. Like, you look at him, like, you can see it's like, yeah, he could add to that. He can get stronger. And I think a lot of his strength comes from, like, the exact word I have written down for run game stuff is nasty. The relentless fucking hands, dude, and leg drive. Like, he just doesn't stop working. No. He's always punching, pushing, driving at all times. He is really going to be an asset on the inside, I think, for whichever team gets him. I just think for the Giants, they need a tackle so much worse than they need an interior guy. I just don't know if they go this direction, but I would be pretty stoked to have him on the Giants at 34. Yeah, I wouldn't. It would be way better at 65, but it's not going to happen.
I think he's a tackle in a pinch type of guy because I think he's got adequate foot speed for tackle, but um it's not great foot speed. And you do see sometimes where guys can get to the corner on him. And I think NFL rushers will be able to push that outside shoulder a little better than the guys that he was facing. And he worked exclusively inside at the Senior Bowl, and I don't think that's on accident, obviously. But like again, he's got like that quick, effective punch and pass pro. He's got you know, the long arms to really take advantage of like his aggression. So I think he's someone that you really can just line up at guard or center. And I guess people are saying center, but I really like him. And I feel like there's a lot of different things you can do. He's versatile. You can, you see him in gap, right? The way he works double teams and down blocks, he will fucking put you 3 gaps down. You put him in zone, I think he's plenty athletic to do that in the NFL. And he knows how to rework his hands, keep working leverage. Bends at the waist a little bit, but obviously if you put him inside, some of that gets eliminated. But like you put him out in space, man, he just approaches it with control, but like finishes those blocks. I have him as a first round player, and Giants have a high second round pick. It just makes so much sense to get him there.
Yeah, it does. I just don't know. Like, is that what you do at 34? If you're the Giants, take an interior offensive lineman, is that like realistic? Is what I'm saying.
I think so, right? Because it's not just. I think it, Matt. There's a chance that you get need and best player available, right? Like you need offense. You didn't draft any offensive lineman last year. The year before, the only one you drafted was John Michael Schmitz. The ones you drafted the year before are failures in Neil Azudu and Marcus McKeithen. I think getting young offensive linemen on this team is a premium. I mean, it's all vets. Jermaine Illuminor going to be a free agent next year. Greg Van Roten, 5th starter. JMS hasn't worked out. And then John Runyon, like, I think he has a good reasonable contract, but he's not a huge advantage on this team. He's just not a big disadvantage either, right? He just holds up solidly in pass protection in the run game. He is, not great. I feel like we need to start looking for people who are going to be like big time positives on the interior of this offensive line. Like you said, if it's the top guard and top tackle, right? If Josh Simmons or Josh Conerly are there, and so is Gray Zabel and Donovan Jackson, I'm taking Simmons or Conerly. I think Simmons is the better player than all of them, and Conerly and the other guys are pretty equally graded. That I'm going to go to tackle. But I think Zabel would be a nice piece. The next guy, Grump, that we can talk about on this list for guard is Donovan Jackson out of Ohio State. 6'4", 315 pounds. He actually played left tackle once Josh Simmons got injured. His first game at left tackle, he gave up 2 sacks and 3 pressures versus Abdul Carter. The rest of the season, he gave 0 sacks, 2 QB hits, and 9 pressures in 13 games. Again, I think he's another tackle and a pinch guy. He's a guard, right? Ohio State wanted him to play guard. And the Abdul Carter matchup shows, even though Abdul Carter is great, that he's not a tackle in the NFL. But what he is he's quick, strong, long, and stout for that guard spot. He just controls blocks and pass protection with hands on guys with those long arms that he has. I wish he was more of an ass kicker in the run game, but he does a good job. And if you want to run zone, the outside zone, he's athletic to pull, even though you want to see him, get a little more oomph in him when he lands that pull, but he gets to the spots, which is 80% of pulling as a guard. He adjusts in space really well, getting to the second level. So it's like he's athletic to work down the run game, and then just pass protection as a guard is just almost immaculate.
I mean, since you read my notes for me,
there we go. Let's go.
I mean, seriously, so my running game stuff, he gets an excellent position and he has surprising foot speed for his size. But what bothers me is he doesn't drive his feet, and it just never feels like he dominates with strength at any time. He doesn't really plow open holes, but he's in the right spot and he at least stalemates a guy. No one's going to get around him. No one's really going to get through him. But I really just with all of the strength that you see in him and the good leverage he has and the way he is able to lock on hands and stuff, you just expect him to take that next step and just move your feet, dude. Just drive your feet, and you have ripped this hole wide open. But that's like the only real negative I have. He's super polished. He seems like a really intelligent guy. I mean, just the fact that you move from left guard to left tackle at the Big Ten level is already impressive. But the fact that you did it for a playoff run and then won a national championship that way, I think that speaks, like you said, like the foot speed is not really there for him to play tackle. So the only way you can really do that and survive is by playing extremely polished, right? You have to eliminate your faults by being perfect at the things that you're good at. And that seemed to be what it was. Now, I purposely didn't watch a ton of his games at left tackle because I knew that probably wasn't why we wanted to talk about him. But, just in general, Ohio State between Simmons and Donovan Jackson, both of them not fooled by stunts or twists, really smart players, really intelligent. They really know what their job is on every given play. And just in pass protection, he just looks rock solid to me.
Dude, it's so good.
Such a strong anchor. It looks so easy for him. Like it's just like everything is just a test.
I mean, like I'll read 3 notes in a row I have as for him as pass protection, or 4 notes or bullet points. Quick, effective punch and pass pro. Long arms plus hand replacement lets him lock on to rushers. Strong hands and extends really well. Great anchor once he has hands on defensive linemen. Like there's times where he'll give up in space a tackle where he'll give up some push, but that's not going to happen at guard. Like he's just got all the makings of an elite pass protecting guard in the NFL. And in the run game, yeah, there is more to be desired in the run game. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, he's just going to get better, but at least he sustains blocks well. He's not letting guys slide off of him. He's just not like want to see a little more out of him, right? Like he fires off the ball quick. But he kind of lacks some of that lean to really get pushed. And if you want to be a good run defender, you can't go with cookie cutter, knees bent, shoulders up technique. You got to lean on guys a little bit. You got to take a chance of whiffing a time or two. And there's times where a false step shows up. But like moving to the second working combos, he does all that stuff really well. And then in zone blocking, he's awesome. So it's just want to see a little ass kicker. I don't want to give away what I'm going to do my mock draft a week from now, Grump, when we do our draft day, but he is the one that's the lowest rated out of this clump of 4 players that we're talking about. So he's the one I feel the most comfortable being like, yeah, that's my guy. That's my target at 34.
Oh, I mean, that's fair. I mean, I could understand that one. And, I mean, where does he play in 2025 if that's the case? That's my interesting question right there. Like
the question,
put him in depth.
That is an interesting question. Now, again, that's not a reason for me to, even if he said he's going to be a backup the whole year, I'm like, okay, fine.
Oh, no. That's totally fine. That's actually, if you're doing things right, building a roster, that's what your draft pick should be doing. But anyway.
But I actually had the same question, not because of starter backup, but I'm like, do you put him at left guard or you put him at right guard? And you know what? I would hate to move Runyon from the spot that he likes more, but I would put him at left guard. And one, that's going to help in pass protection. You put him next to Thomas, and you put Runyon at right guard, and Greg Van Roten's a backup. Like, you already signed Greg Van Roten. If he's unhappy about it, sorry, bud. But I guess you should have waited till after the draft to do so. And this is a guy the Giants have done a top 30 visit, so we know that there's interest there. The Giants don't do smoke screen top 30 visits. I would prefer keeping at left guard, but it's a lot easier if you're just looking at it from the outside in. You're like, well, Runyon's here, put him at right guard, which I'm not saying that's wrong. I just pick 34 is such a high investment. I would like to keep him at his natural left guard spot.
I mean, I'll make the decision easy for you. If I know a Brian Dable training camp, he'll be practicing all over the line.
Yeah, I was going to say, who is
at some point?
You know what you could do?
Put him at tight end. Hey, what?
You could let him battle with Dallas Goedert like I did in South Dakota. And I want to look something up before. What you could do is you put him at guard, left guard. You put John Runyon at right guard, and you say, "Hey, Greg Van Roten, you want to battle for the starting center job?"
That's interesting.
And if JMS wins, that's the good thing. If he doesn't, then you're playing someone that's better at that spot.
Well, I mean, if JMS wins, that's a perfect position because then your 35-year-old is depth as he should be.
Right.
Shoulder
Yeah. Well,
lineman
you're hoping JMS wins, but you're like making it more of an open competition.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not actually going to fret about where do you play him because even if Donovan Jackson doesn't play all year, I'm fine with that. I really am.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be nice. It'd be like, hey, rookie, just develop. But I love Donovan Jackson.
Well, also, and it's like, what offensive line unit doesn't miss a game? Somebody's getting hurt. Someone's missing, and even if like guys who typically play through like a foot injury, now they don't have to. John Runyon, again, twists his ankle. He doesn't have to try and play through it and then tear his ACL. You can just have him, I mean, you could still even dress him and just be like, well, Donovan Jackson's going to get the start this week. You come off the bench in case he screws up really badly.
Yeah, if they drafted him, I would be figuring out a way. I'd be picking who's playing what side with him and Runyon. I think I'd just rather have Van Roten go and be the backup guard and center, which again, he's got flexibility at both those positions. So like it's someone you can actually play at both those spots and feel comfortable about. Or like you said, you get, you galaxy brain like I did, and you say Van Roten battle for center. Let's talk about his teammate. And maybe this one's a little more unrealistic of happening, but because he's coming off of a torn patellar tendon injury, which happened in the Oregon game right before Penn State got robbed of a matchup with Abdul Carter, which would have been nice, really nice. Oh, by the way, if the Giants draft Donovan Jackson and Abdul Carter, the matchup breakdown video is going to do numbers. And all the comments are like, well, Jackson's not a tackle. That's why he got. And I'm like, I know. But I have to do the matchup breakdown, guys. Josh Simmons, 6'5", 315-pound offensive tackle for the Buckeyes. I mean, long, strong, and athletic. It's just the first thing you notice, Grump, is he just explodes out of his stance in both the pass and the run game. You see him bench and torque defensive linemen well in the run game. Now there's I think there is technical flaws with him in the run game. I think he uses his shoulders too much. And low hands allow D linemen to rip at his shoulder pads and get these wins on him. And pass protection, I think his hips drift open, and NFL guys will just take advantage of that. But man, tackle is a top of the draft position. You need prerequisites, and Josh Simmons fits all those.
Yeah, I guess it's the injury that's torpedoing him. I mean, I guess
he's still projected, like, I think he's 22nd on the consensus board too.
Yeah, just to me, I mean, I don't know. I can't find a ton of faults in this game where I have Kelvin Banks ahead of him. You know what I mean? I just don't. I like Josh Simmons a lot. That whole left side of the Ohio State offensive line. I know we just wasted a whole bunch of time talking about Donovan Jackson, but they worked so well together. It was like one. Well, true, but it's like one unit. That left side of the line, they were like one person. They could have been twins. And I would even say that they kind of look like twins, just in their stance, coming out of their stance. Really, really solid balance. Not a lot of balance issues between either of them. I think that they both settle into really strong anchors. They have strong hands, strong punches. Like I said before, not fooled by stunts or twists between the two of them. And also, you just look at him, right? It's 6'5", 315. He looks like a giant dude.
Mm-hmm.
He moves way faster than you'd expect. Like both forward on the run, kicking out, in everything. He just moves way more nimbly than I'd expect just looking at him.
Oh, he explodes out of his stance into his pass sets, whether it's a jump set, 45 set, vertical set, which they didn't do much of. And he's just got good feet to stay balanced and slide with rushers. Like, he plays with good pad level. The only thing in the pass pro that I think worries me is he just doesn't stay square. He just naturally, his hips open as he goes, but that is extremely workable. And then he's just able to walk on to rushers and extend them off him, keeping them out of his chest. Like, and he does some hand tricks, using the circle technique, and is just he plays with urgency. And he's athletic enough to do it. He's strong enough to do it. I mean, hell, he played 6 games last year. He gave 0 sacks, 0 quarterback hits, and 1 pressure. Now, as I've come to watch some film of certain games where I look at the stats, I don't fully trust those from PFF. Um, but nonetheless, like he was pretty damn dominant in the small sample size we saw in 2024.
You had some notes about him being a little, I would say, unpolished in the run game. Like, I don't think you really said bad or anything, just doing things that allowed him to lose, right?
Yeah, so like one, I think when he's working on a down block or a double team, he just kind of throws his shoulders into it, which he's strong enough to get movement on that, but we got to come in with our hands. And the hands come in low on some blocks, and you see plays where and it's not even great defensive lineman, where his hands come in low, they grab that chest plate and they rip him down or rip underneath him, and you see him have some bad losses like that. And like, working to the second level, I think he comes a little too upright, and it just allows linebackers to just get to their spots against him.
Okay, because I mean, when he does connect with strength, you can see the strength there. I mean, like if he's on the play side, he can just like kind of leverage guys and just torque them entirely out of the play. So I mean, if he can clean up some of those, hand placement issues and, I guess just keeping pad level, moving to the second level and things like that. I think in the run game, the strength obviously comes through when he does things correctly.
Yeah. I think it'd be stupid if he fell past the Texans.
I mean, like I said, for me, he's like right up there as like my number 2, number 3 tackle. So he shouldn't really fall.
I would have him 3. I'd have him Mbow 1, Campbell 2, Simmons 3.
Yeah,
but again, he's coming off an injury.
Well, that's the other thing too. What's the prognosis on that? Because that was suffered in October. For a guy that's closer to your size than mine, I have no idea what that kind of strain does to a knee.
Well, Dr. Mantis Toboggan may make another appearance on this show, but I don't know. He's got it's coming a torn patellar tendon.
So yeah, well, I mean, and again, in the case of the Giants, he doesn't have to do anything year 1, right?
No. I mean, I would assume that he's ready for the season or ready for training camp.
Right, but I mean, you can still at that point you can ramp him up. So what I'm saying is that the injury may possibly affect other teams' opinions, but it shouldn't affect the Giants at all because if they go tackle, the tackle doesn't need to play week 1, just period.
You know what the Giants actually did this offseason that I guess I'll commend them then, as we've learned from these conversations? They set themselves up where these offensive linemen don't have to play day 1. And that was an issue with going into 2023 with no center on the roster outside of Jimmy Morrissey. Or no, it wasn't Jimmy Morrissey. It was J.C. Schlossenauer, who was not a real option. Didn't have a tackle in 2022. So, damn. And then last year, they're like, hey, we're just not going to draft anyone. And we're going to put Josh Zudu at tackle. And Greg Van Roten's not on the team. And we're going to put DeMelo Minour at guard. This year, they've come together with a little bit better plan, which I hope does not stray them away from picking offensive line early.
It better not, because I think that's the one thing they've done a good job. They need stuff all over the offense, but if this was their starting offense week 1, they literally have starters all across the offense.
Yeah. Grump, we need to get a little hate in our heart because people don't want to hear suck off fest. Draft shows are way too often that, right? And I don't like this guy very much that we're talking about next. And it's Tyler Booker, the guard out of Alabama at 6'5", 321 pounds. Here's a couple things. One, he tested terribly at the combine, and I feel like it matched the film quite simply. For the 40 time for offensive lineman, 28th out of 29. The 10-yard split, 29th out of 29. 3-cone drill, 15th of 16. The shuttle, 15th of 19. Vertical jump, 26th of 28. Bench broad jump, 29th of 29. Bench press, 14th of 17. I think he is sluggish. I don't think his film is super redeeming. And the talking points to talk Tyler Booker was like, man, he's so good in a phone booth. Well, guess what? The NFL is not a phone booth league, and I'm not taking a phone booth guard in the top of the second round or the first round where He's there. Now you're going to show me, Bobby, look at the highlights of him burying these pass rushers, right? Because there's a lot of times when they're getting stunts, he sees the stunt and he will take a slanting rusher, hit him on the shoulders and put him on his ass. And those plays do show up in the run game. But what he doesn't do is get in front of a wide rusher without losing inside or just giving up the corner. Like, do that and I will be impressed, because the NFL is not a highlight, or the offensive line in the NFL is not a highlight reel position. It is a don't give me a low light reel position, and then we can look at the highlights to measure how good you are. And I just see, I think he is a slow player. And I went to look, sometimes it's like, all right, I don't like this guy. Is there anyone else there that doesn't like him? So I just searched his name on Twitter to see what their clips are. And I thought like I was lost in my mind. Everyone's saying, stop overthinking. People are overthinking Tyler Booker. And everyone's just saying, like, sure, you can't use him in any wide zone. You can't pull him, but he's amazing in a top 15 pick, and you should just shut the hell up about it. This isn't a situation, Grump, where I think he's not a pro-level player, right? I remember coming on here a few years ago about Wyatt Davis, who was projected as a high second. I was like, this is not a starter in the NFL. I do think Tyler Booker can be a starter. I just think the idea of him as a first-round pick or a top of the second-round pick, I just don't buy it. Like, you can't be that level of athlete and be someone I'm drafting in those situations. Like, it's severe. It's not just the testing. It shows up on film. I think his balance is below average. He doesn't work laterally well. And again, you're going to talk about the run play highlights. He's got good strike in the run game, right? He'll really raise up the deep shoulder pads of a defensive lineman. He can torque him. He can bury him. But if he doesn't have the initial win, they slide off of him. You see how he's so head heavy, where there's plays where he just lands on his face because he's got someone in his gap. I'm going to fire off the ball, and that defensive lineman moves laterally off that play, or just not even a full gap, just half a gap, and he misses. And you talk about the other stuff, you can't use him in outside zone. You can't put him in space. Again, I think he's a third-round player.
Gabe Jackson. Just reminds me of Gabe Jackson.
Okay, really good player.
Well, I mean, just in terms of that style, right? So, like, I remember watching back when I actually watched the combine, Gabe Jackson do terribly in an athletic drill. Don't even remember what the drill was. And I remember, Hall of Fame GM Mike Mayock saying, that's okay. That's not who he is. He's a phone booth player. Is that okay if that's all you are? No, not at the NFL level. I mean, I don't know. Maybe the NFL it goes into a cycle and eventually phone booth style offenses are going to come around again. But in 2025, it's not really. If that's all you can do, then it's not good enough. And what actually strikes me about him is that I don't think that he's incapable. I think that he just doesn't do stuff. Like, he just won't do it. Because there are times where he's pulling out to lead block for Milrow, like out on the edge, and he's running. I wouldn't say stride for stride, but he's not really, far behind. You know what I mean? Like, you can see that there is athleticism there, but it's only on certain plays when he feels like it, or whatever the issue is. But like, there's clear athleticism problems. I think that he can climb in his stance. Like, I think his initial stance out of like from the snap is pretty good. If the more he has to be on his feet, he just slowly is standing more and more up until balance is going to become a problem. I think that he clearly has strength to him. You know what I mean? Like,
he's strong. He's strong.
Yeah. But is he 21 bench press reps, dude? I mean, I can do one, but still.
His film is strong. I understand the bench press reps aren't good, and he tested badly in that. But I do see, like, I see the strength on film, right? Where I don't see is the athleticism on film that I think he's going to need to be someone who thrives at the next level. So again, this isn't a Booker is incapable take by me. This is just like, why the hell is he above Gray Zabel and Donovan Jackson and consensus boards? And like, the idea that he could go top 15 is crazy to me. And this is coming from someone who loved Kenyon Green. And it's not just a learning from, but Kenyon Green's film was consistently much better. And Kenyon Green, who tested badly, and I ignored that, like has been really bad in the NFL. Now the Eagles are going to fix him this year, and it's going to be all right, and it's going to hurt. Um, but this just does not match the profile of a guard you take early.
No, I would agree. And I would also say that like positional value in the draft is kind of a thing. Like remember, you're taking people. He's just not a person I'm taking in the first round. He doesn't play the position well enough where I'm like, oh yeah, this guy is a first round pick. I just don't see it. You don't see it in any of the film. It's kind of just that simple.
I don't think he's a top of the second round pick either, right?
Oh.
Like I put out a sarcastic tweet, and some people didn't pick up on the sarcasm. Where I was like, Tyler Booker being, people need to stop overthinking the fact that Tyler Booker is a horrible athlete. Stop thinking about it, because I saw people, draft analysts, saying that don't overthink it. I was like, well, I feel like we should think about this a little bit. You know, the worst testing, offensive lineman at the combine. But I lost my train of thought.
I don't know. I was disappointed by his film. I'll put it that way because he comes from Alabama. He has a lot of.
There's
hype.
too many lowlights.
Yeah,
he has highlights, absolutely, but there's too many lowlights. All right, let's talk about a guy that is someone I'm willing to bet on, but man, it's tough to figure out exactly the path for him in the NFL. And that's Mbow from Purdue at 6'4", 303 pounds, 32-inch arms. A tackle at Purdue, but he has guard size, right? That arm length is short for tackle, but he has tackle athleticism. Like he's likely to move inside to guard, but I think he's capable of playing tackle, in my opinion. Whereas like a Jonathan Savania at Arizona, I don't think he is. Like he doesn't have tackle feet for the NFL. Bo's smart, dude. Like he just has an understanding of pass protection. Like you can tell he watches great tackles and what they do, because he just got a whole bag of tricks, right? One, you see, he just throws different pass sets at guys, right? Jump set. He'll throw even like fake pass sets, and then, a fake jump set, and then get vertical. You see him use hand tricks all the time, trying to, just mess with pass rushers' timing, right? He realized pass rushing is a timing game. I'm going to do all types of things to try and screw that up. There's even like a stunt I posted on the Giants Nation show, Twitter, where the stunt is there, and he realizes like we're not passing this off. He goes behind the guard in the center in front of the quarterback and picks it up. Like he's just got a high IQ, and the foot speed is really good. Like his lateral quickness is excellent. He sees and blitz and stunts from a mile away, and he's able to recover really well. There's even times where, a guy will work inside on him, and they'll have like that half-man advantage, and he's just got the foot speed to get in front of that and recover. The issue, Grump, is he really struggles with strength. And it's hard to see a guy who struggles with strength at tackle in college and say, well, we're just going to slide him inside against bigger guys in the NFL, And so, it's just, where does he play? Like, I feel like we talk about the where does he play. I think it's a little easier with some of the other guys we talk about. With Mbow, it's like, man, he plays like a tackle. He's got athleticism like a tackle. He just doesn't have tackle size, and he has 32-inch arms. And I think his best spot seems to be right tackle. The question is, if you move him into guard, is he someone that can work in the run game? Right? He'll be good in space and stuff, but like, how will he be against down blocking a nose tackle, or trying to pin out a 3 technique, or drive him up the field? How will he be against, the 3 techniques in the NFL that are just going to try and get in his chest and push him back and push him back? That is my worry with Mbow. There's so much I like, but is he just a tweener that doesn't have a great home anywhere in the NFL?
I mean, it's certainly a concern in that, like, he just may not hold up. But I don't know. I would be willing to bet on him at right tackle, and there's a couple of reasons why. Like you said, super high IQ, super high motor, really, really high motor player as well. I think that he's the kind of person who's going to work at his craft and find, you know what I mean? Like,
absolutely. And that's why I believe in him. It's because he's so smart. I just don't think he's going to let himself fail in the NFL.
Yeah, like, I don't think he's going to fully solve the strength problem. I think that he will bust his ass in, like, a proper nutrition plan and a workout plan, and he'll probably be that guy that's working all off season with, these O-line gurus, in February, March, April, May, to just perfect his craft, learn different tricks, learn how to use his hands in all kinds of different ways, perfect his leverage and that sort of thing. I think that if he's a right tackle, I think that whatever strength issues he can't overcome will be on display for his quarterback. But I think moving inside doesn't help his strength issues, and I think it eliminates his athleticism. It takes away one of the great advantages you have there. And I also think that he'll use that foot speed to his advantage. And what I felt like rewatching some of his film now, I felt like he was a little bit more sluggish on film, trying to mirror some guys. Some of the better edges that he went against, he kind of got like turned around a little bit. And I don't think he was just confused. I think he was just trying to mirror them, and he's just not as polished as they are at their position. But then looking back at the Senior Bowl, I don't remember thinking that at all with him, that he was like, kind of over mirroring or just like, too active with the feet, where it's just like, be patient, just get into your set, whatever. I don't remember him being like that at all in the Senior Bowl. So if he's already made like those little incremental jumps, I don't know. I'm not. I mean, if I were picking him to be my right tackle in 2025, I would be worried no matter what team I am. Again, no, I don't want to go down the whole thing with the Giants not needing the tackle to play right away, but just any team that's willing to mold him into a right tackle, I think they'll be rewarded with the kind of person that they're getting, someone who's going to continue working, and the upside of the athleticism that he brings. I don't think I'm as worried about the arm length as I am about just the general ability to not handle strength.
Yeah, again, if he was fucking anchoring down against Jack Sawyer or whoever, I wouldn't be like, well, he has 32-inch arms. Like, no, it's a combination of both that gives me pause about him at tackle. But again, like if you do put him inside, we'll see how the strength works. But one thing I know is no one's going to beat him with speed. No one's going to beat him with athleticism on the interior. Like he's going to just be able to stay in front of everybody. So if he can get stronger, then you've got yourself a guy who can be, a Pro Bowl level guard that you get in the second or third round.
He also seems like the kind of guy who's going to play wherever you tell him to play.
Right? He's just smart. Like it's just so easy to see. Like this dude's he understands ball. Like again, like I look back at I watch all this film and shit, and I'm like, man, I've been sick if I knew this stuff in college. And it's like Marcus Mbow does, he did know all this stuff, right? He uses a slingshot technique on the backside of zone, something that Joe Thomas, did a lot in the NFL. So you just see like the smart stuff and like, okay, I don't think he's going to fail. I don't know what he's going to end up being, but I think he will figure out at some point in the NFL. Let's finish it off with another guy I'm not the biggest fan of, but I put him on this list because Chris Nee is now an O-line scout with the Giants, and Chris Nee also worked at Boston College about a year ago, and he went to college at Boston College, and he got drafted by the Giants because of a connection, and it ended up working out, and that's Ozzie Trapilo, 6'8", 316-pound tackle. I put him on here, like I said, because of the Chris Nee Boston College connection. We don't need to spend a ton of time on him. He's 6'8", so he's big. I worry that his feet are too slow and he bends too much at the waist. And guys are able to use, he lunges with his punch because he bends at the waist, and guys are able to, just use hand moves on him. I think he's kind of a swing tackle in the NFL. He's not someone you're moving inside at that size. The player that he reminds me of the most is Dan Skipper from the Lions, who has put together, a nice career being a swing tackle for the Lions. And has played some inside, and maybe Trapilo can do that. I don't think it's impossible. I just think it's hard moving 6'8" guards who bend at the waist inside, and having them really thrive. But there's a lot of good film by Ozzie. It's just 6'8", doesn't have great feet. I don't know if you're ever a starter in the NFL.
There's a clear lack of polish. I mean, that's pretty much the long and short of everything. You know what I mean? Like, I think that his stance, is pretty good considering his height. It's okay. I think he has some pretty good first punches, but I wish he would lock on a little bit better. I think his footwork is slow. He gets to his spot okay, but it's clear watching him that he's going to struggle with quick twitch edge guys, or really fast stunt motions and stuff like that. The movement in general is generally pretty labored, I guess is the way to say it. Like everything looks like it's a task. Whereas when you look at like Donovan Jackson and Josh Simmons, you look at them and they're just like, this is so effortless. You guys are moving like water in a bowl. You know what I mean? Like with him, I don't know.
He just lacks explosion. Like even in the run game, like you can see he gets off the ball with urgency. He just
lumbers. He's just lumbering.
Yeah. And again, so he is the 8th guy we're talking about. I'm kind of I wish we would have put on this guard or whatever instead of him, but I didn't. So blame me.
You know what though? I think that you could probably work with him to the point where he's a swing tackle in the NFL. I don't think it's like a wasted conversation. You know what I mean? Like it's a lot of technique thing cleanup, and I think there's some level of this will never get better. But if you clean up the technique, I think he's a perfectly good depth piece, and a team is only as good as their 53rd man.
I don't know, I feel like some teams are as good as their 48th man, Grump. No, I agree. Again, I don't think he's a lost cause. I just don't think he's ever if he's a starter, he's not a high-end starter at least. But like he's got some like second round buzz. I think he's a day 3 guy. But that's our O-line draft preview. We got the edge class on Friday. How we feeling, Grump?
About the edge class or this O-line group?
Just everything.
In general?
Yeah, like
I feel like I need a shave.
I definitely need to shave, but I didn't. So yeah, it's been fun. I'm excited for Edge. Edge is so easy to talk about, right? Like
There's a lot of them too.
Edge is quite literally the easiest position to talk about in the draft. It's like I can watch their film faster than anybody's in the world. It's the one position where again, I watch multiple games of all the guys, but I'm like, I really only need to watch 10 plays out of you. Like, let me watch 10 plays in a row against decent competition, and I can figure it out somewhat. But so that's an episode. I'm glad we got a lot of O-line guys that I like instead of guys that we had to tear down. I'm sorry, Tyler Booker. I hope your family's not listening to this. And we'll see. All right, that's an episode. We'll be back on Friday. Appreciate you guys all very much. Thank you, Grump, for joining the Giants Nation show. We'll see you then. Until then, let's go Big Blue.